Hey everyone, and welcome back to Country Music Made Me. Thank you so much for joining us once again. If you haven't already, please be sure to check us out on social media. We're available on every platform, so just head over, search Country Music Made Me, and give us a follow. You can also visit countrymusicmademe.com to sign up for our newsletter to receive exclusive content. On today's episode, we are excited to welcome Kolby Cooper. Now, Kolby dove in to a career in country music at the age of 18 after graduating high school. He was going to give it a year to see how it went. And well, it went pretty darn well. Things exploded out of the gate. And now at only 23 years old, he has toured around the country and he is set to make his Grand Ole Opry debut in September. The day we talked, he was set to release his brand new album, Boy from Anderson County to the Moon. That was last week. And so we talked about that new album and also his journey towards it. So please enjoy our conversation with Kolby Cooper. Let's start out with the new album because it is going to be released tonight at midnight, which will be a week removed once we release this episode, so everyone can go out and check it out. So Boy from Anderson County to the Moon is the new album. Now, there was the 6-song EP that came out, and we have, I believe, 7 extra tunes that were added to make the full album. Now, talk about this process. The 6 songs you had, the 7 that you added, were they all created around the same time, or were those 7 songs sort of crafted after the release of the original EP?
Man, every song on this album was made around pretty much, or within the same 6 months, except for Breaking News, which is out already, and a song called Storm's Coming, which is going to come out tonight. So, but every other song was made by the time that the first EP came out. And so when we picked that first EP, it was like, oh man, what do we want to save for the full length, because we didn't want to put like all of our favorites on here, but we didn't want to like save all of our favorites. So it was like, it was a very interesting process,
Yeah. Talk about making that full album and sort of placing the songs, because when I looked at the track listing, I kind of assumed, I guess, that the 6 songs that were originally released would be in a chunk and then the new songs would be in a chunk, but that's not it. They're mixed together. So talk about that process of creating a flow on the full album.
Yeah. So me and my publisher, his name is, we call him Falcon. We sit down and we do the track listings because we tried to tell a story with the music and with lyrically with the song content, and we just want you to get a musical progression throughout the entire album, which you get because it starts small, or it starts with the first song, Are We on Fire, and it's like that song is just, it builds so in such a cool way, but it starts small acoustic, and then the album ends with To the Moon, which is a more broke down like acoustic vibe song. So it's cool the way like it starts like that and just goes and just but there's also a story with it in the content of the songs and stuff. But it was there were so many different ways we had placed the songs from 1 to 13, or from 1 to 13, and we finally just saw the final way, and we're like, oh yeah, that's what it's, because we have this this window at his office that we write it down on.
Oh, okay.
And finally we got to the final order. We're like, oh yeah, that looks dope. That's perfect. So it was a very interesting process, but we got it.
That's awesome. And now it is a very diverse album. Like you say, it kind of goes up and then down, and there's a lot of different elements within it. But I was wondering, throughout the process of creating it, was there anything that you wanted to try that maybe didn't work out the way you thought it would, or maybe didn't fit with the project?
I mean, there were, I mean, so with the album, I mean, there were so many songs that I could have, made a 28 song album if I wanted to, of all the songs that we have to release, or that, that we want to put out. So there was not necessarily stuff that we tried that didn't work. It was just stuff that, the album was pretty much done, and everything we tried worked. Like everything that we, every new sound that we tried fit in the album, or at least felt like it fit. And I'm really excited with the sound progression in some of the songs, and like Storm's Coming has a heavier sound with like just these badass guitar solos and everything. So it's you know, I love the broadness of it, you know, with the acoustic driven To the Moon, and then like just rock to, you know, Storm's Coming and Our Own Fire. But
Right. Yeah. And now To the Moon. I love that song, and it feels very personal for you. Is that one of the more personal songs on the album?
I think that the overall message of the song is definitely a personal one that like, you know, I'm 23, but I've been through a bunch of stuff. You know, my dad passed away when I was 13, 14. And I've, you know, had got married to my wife when we were at 19, found out we were pregnant at 18, had our first daughter at 19. So I've been through a lot of stuff, man, and I had to grow up pretty quickly. And there's just a bunch of stuff I've learned over the past, you know, I guess 23 years. And that song kind of just encompasses what I've, you know, what I've come to realize, I guess. And I hope that people just love it, you know.
That's amazing. And that's a great segue into diving into this journey and learning more about you, because I saw that, I don't know if it was in a post or where it was, but I saw you say that I would say that if a true fan looks at everything we do, there is not much they don't know about me. And so I want to challenge that, and I want to dive in, and I want to see if we can learn some new stuff about you today, about your past and about your musical journey. So let's dive in and talk about growing up in Bradford, right?
Yep.
The population in 2000, the population was 30 people.
That's right.
So
That's
very,
right.
very small town. So what did that sort of first few years of your upbringing look like? Was it very much country living for you and your family?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, all of my childhood, my dad either drove a cow truck or he worked on ranches. And at first, he was working on ranches, and yeah, it was. I mean, growing up, I would, instead of hanging out at the house with my mom, I would go out as a 2 or 3 year old with him to work, and I'd ride horses and watch him, you know, rope and run cows and work cows and do all the stuff. Man, it was it was a very cowboy, very country, and it was. I mean, some of my favorite memories still are riding out on this big ass wide open ranch with my dad and a bunch of his friends, and you know, because after we get through working, we get to go ride until real late, and it was always the fun part.
That's awesome. And I saw you say at one point, growing up, you had rules of what to do and what not to do. And so looking back on that, do you remember some of the main rules of what you were not supposed to do?
Yeah, I mean, you weren't supposed to be a bad kid. You were supposed to respect all of your elders, and respect everyone, you know, and not be a little asshole, you know. Try to be a sweet kid, because you don't want to. You never wanted your parents coming around and hearing that you've been a bad kid, or you get your, you know, get whooped. Never
Right. Yeah.
fun. But yeah, just really just respecting people, man, and not being a little heathen.
That's amazing. And now, before we talk about your dad and the impact he had on you, I saw you mention that you started riding four-wheelers on your grandfather's property when you were young. And I wanted to ask about him, your grandfather, and the person he was and the impact he's had on this journey for you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So it's my we call him Big Daddy. It's I mean, he was just been my, you know, been around since we were kids. He's my I guess step grandpa.
Okay.
But I mean, he's just as much blood as anyone else, you know. But yeah, he definitely taught us a lot as kids about working hard, and you know, the same kind of thing, man. He had a big impact for sure.
And now your dad, you talked about driving cattle trucks with him when you were really young. And you've talked about the fact that that's where your love of music began, and listening to music on those drives. And then also probably your love of the road now comes from being on the road then. And so just talk about the memories that you hold from those days, and sort of the first memories that you have, because you started so young with him doing that.
Yeah, so I was I think I was probably 4 or so when he started driving trucks again. So it was right before I started school. And I mean, every time he'd go, I'd go with him, and it'd be, you know, we'd be gone for 3 or 4 days. And it was, you know, obviously as a 4 year old, if you're kind of just doing that, you're probably going to be heavily influenced into wanting to do that at some point. I mean, as a kid, all I wanted to do was drive trucks when I got older. And, you know, luckily I get to at least ride on a bus around the country to scratch that itch. But yeah, man,
Yeah.
we he would take us out in the Peterbilt, and we'd go, I mean, as far east as Georgia. And I remember, I guess the first, we were probably driving to Amarillo, and he put in this he had just got like the collection of every Waylon song there was on like all these CDs, and he put the first one in, and it was Rose in Paradise played. And I remember hearing the guitar intro, the solo, and just the story that I told and everything from Waylon Jennings, and I was just blown away as a kid riding in his passenger seat. It was late at night too. And it's part of the reason I think that I'm a night person still to this day, because like I hate getting up at 7 in the morning, and I would much rather sleep till like 10 and stay up till like 3:30
Oh wow.
every night. That's more my schedule. But yeah, it was probably like 10 or 11 at night, and we were listening to Waylon for the first time, and it was just yeah, man, it was definitely something that changed the trajectory of what I wanted to be when I grew up a little bit. I thought that it'd be cool to be a singer.
Right. And now within Waylon, I saw that, I don't know what year it was. I think it was within the last couple of years. You visited Waymore's in Littlefield, which is, I believe, a liquor store or a store that's owned by Waylon's brother.
Yeah.
That's a pretty famous place. And so what did that mean just to visit there and think about your dad while you were there? Because I know that's somewhere where I think you guys had maybe talked about visiting before he passed away.
Yeah, absolutely. We did, man. I remember as a kid, some of those truck rides, we'd be listening to the Waylon CD, and he'd be like, tell me about Waymore's, and be like, one day we got to go there, and we'll have a route that brings us through there. We'll stop through, and I'll show you it. But yeah, we never got to go, but when I got to go, it was crazy, man. It was really like a full circle moment in my head, and it was really surreal to be there. But yeah, so it's a liquor store, and you go in, and his brother runs it, and he was just super awesome, man. He just told us a million stories, and the liquor store on the left, and then on the right there's this little room that's got all this Waylon. It's kind of like a Waylon museum almost.
Okay.
But man, it's crazy. Like I guess they have his first guitar in there, and they have a bunch of stage clothes and a bunch of CDs and plaques and stuff on the wall. It's cool, really really cool, man.
Wow. And now with your dad, when he passed, you're in your early teens. What did that experience mean for you, I guess, back then? And then also just the person that it's built you into today?
Yeah, no, it was really hard. I mean, we were extremely close, but it's you know, I guess it was just something that you had to, at the time, just had to deal with, and had to understand that everything happens for a reason, and I understood that, and I thankfully got through it, and it was very impactful on my life, and yeah, man. I mean, I still think about them all the time, but it's all fond memories, and it's all good stuff, man. You know, but tough.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I believe it was a couple of years before he passed that you got your first guitar. Now, did he have the opportunity to kind of see you grow as a musician within those couple of years that you began playing?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess he got me my first guitar. I had a few guitars when I was younger, but it was like I still have them, but I never really played them. There were a couple of electrics, and I'd play them when I got them for like 2 days and try to learn. I couldn't do it, whatever.
Right.
And then when I was probably 11 or 12, my tour manager now, who we've been best friends since fourth grade, his name is JT. Um, I was over at his house, and his uncle had taught him how to play guitar, and he was like, "Dude, let me teach you." I was like, "Sick!" And he taught me like the first, my first 3 or 4 chords, and he's a pretty good teacher. I mean, I learned my first song in like 4 minutes, and I went there and showed it to his mom, and she was like, "That's awesome." And then it was just the progression and the satisfaction of learning something new. I was like, "Oh God, I gotta learn more and more and more." And but yeah, he was around for me starting to play, and then me starting to sing. And he got to see me sing for friends and family and stuff, and we'd have people come over, and I'd go in the living room and sing for everybody, so he got to see that.
That's awesome. And how important was music during that time when he passed? Was that a huge crutch for you in helping you get through that time?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like they say, music heals, man. and it was a really, a really long process but yeah, I mean, listening to everything that we listened to. I mean, I listened to Waylon for probably like 4 months straight exclusively after he passed away, just, because it brought back a million memories, and it still does today, when I listen to it. But yeah, man, music was a big crutch during that time, and definitely was a big reason in, or I guess a big part in me helping get up past that.
Right. Yeah. And your brother, he's also on the music side of the business, I believe, but more on
Yeah.
the business side. And I think he was your tour manager for the first few years that you started out. So talk about that relationship. And was he musical growing up, or is he much more business minded?
Yeah, man. So he actually, it's kind of came full circle, and he manages me now.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's funny, but yeah, when we were young, I remember when I started playing and singing, I tried so hard to teach him to play guitar, and to teach him to play drums, to teach him to do whatever, and then finally tried to teach him to play bass when he was like a junior in high school, and it just never happened. And he was like, "Dude, I'm not a musician. I don't need to be like, I can't do this. Like, it's just not meant to be." And I finally accepted it, and I was like, "Okay, whatever. Like, I accept that. You're gonna go do whatever you want to do in life, and we're still gonna be best friends, whatever."
Right. Yeah.
And then I had been graduated, I guess, for my second year when he started his senior year, and we were on the road full time at this point playing. And I guess we were talking one day. I don't know exactly how it happened, but we came away, and he was going to tour manage us while he was a senior in high school. So he was like him and JT, who is now a tour manager, were kind of like tag teaming it, and Chase would do certain stuff when he could. Like, he'd come to a Saturday show. We'd play 3 shows that week. He'd miss Thursday, Friday, and he'd drive into Saturday wherever, if it was close.
Right.
And then finally he graduated high school, and he was on the road with us for like a year and a half, I think. And it was awesome getting to have him on the road, because I mean, I had already accepted the fact that Chase was never going to work with me in any capacity.
Right. Yeah.
That was just done. And then so it was super. It was a dream to get to have him on the road and do all that stuff. And then he started managing Pegasus and the Rooftops. I don't remember when it was, like January of 2020 or something like that, or 2020. It was January 2021,
Oh,
and he
okay.
was like, "Hey, I got to get off the road in March because I'm just way too busy." And I was like, "I get it. Like, I figured it was going to come." And then he was at the same management company that we're at, and yeah, no, luckily it just came full circle, and here we are working together again. But it's funny, man.
That's awesome. And talk about your first show. What was your very first time playing in front of people that weren't family and friends?
Okay, so my very first show was, I think it would have been at oh shoot, what was it called? Oh, it was it was Eddie's in Athens, Texas. Was like my first like full band. Like, it was no family, no friends there. There was just like 15 people there. But I think we were like sophomores or juniors or something in
Oh,
high school.
okay.
But we'd played a bunch of shows for family and friends, and a bunch of like pasture parties and stuff at this point. And yeah, at that point we had started getting into like the local crawfish joint scene. So like the places that were, had a couple outdoor stages. There's this place in Palestine, Texas called Nunes that we played at. And this place in Athens called Wawa's. That was like two of the spots we'd go play a bunch. And we'd also play at the Pit Grill in Palestine. But the first show, man, it was crazy. I think we were a 4-piece. It was me, Jay. I played guitar. JT played guitar. We had a drummer, and then we had a girl in the band that sang also. And we played, a 4-hour set of just covers, and I think like 2 originals. And it was the most fun we'd ever had. We thought it was a blast, even though the 10, 15 people there were, "Oh, these kids are annoying up here on stage." We
Right.
probably say we probably sounded awful, But it was once we started playing live like that, we were hooked. We knew that we were gonna chase it, at least try to, you
And so
know.
that was in high school, but then you did have a stint where you went off to college for nursing, did you not?
So in high school, I was also doing college, and I was almost done with basics when I graduated. I had one more year of basics to do,
Okay.
and me and my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, we started school to finish basics at TVCC in Athens. So it was 12, 15 minutes away from where we grew up. Um, and we were finishing that year up, and I was miserable, and everyone knew I was miserable in college, and I wanted, because we during this year we'd also released our first EP, and it was doing decent, and it had been picked up on some playlists and stuff, and our stuff
Right.
was growing, and people were starting to come to shows. We were starting to sell some tickets and stuff, and so it was like, oh man, I'm not making much money on the weekends, but I'm making a little bit. I was also working full time for my grandpa too.
Oh,
So
wow.
my grandpa that I was talking about earlier, I was working. I'd during the week, if I wasn't in college, like on the Tuesday or Thursday, I'd be working Monday, Wednesday. If I didn't have a show Friday, but normally I was playing Friday, Saturday, so I'd work like 2 days a week for him, play shoot 2 shows a week, and go to school 2 days a week.
Oh, wow.
It was so busy. So it was like I was miserable doing all three of those things.
I
And
bet.
by the end of that year, my mom could see that, and she was the reason I was still finishing college, because I was like, I'm gonna finish it for her, just so she's cool. And by the end of that year, basics, like I was done, and it was time to apply for nursing school, and my mom set me down with my wife too, and they were like, you need to just take a break for a year and see what happens. And if at the end of that year you feel like, yeah, I should just go back to college, go back to college. If you feel like there's something maybe happening, let's go. And and here we are.
Yeah, the rest is history. Now,
Yeah.
within that, your family was obviously supportive of it, but was there a lot of chatter around you of you're crazy? Why are you leaving college behind to go chase this crazy music career?
There wasn't, man, ever. Luckily, everyone was either supportive or didn't say anything.
Okay.
And that's fine, man. Like that's what I didn't, at the end of the day, I don't, you know, care what anyone else thinks about what I want to do. Anyways, I think everyone should feel that way. You should always do what you want to do, because I feel like that's the only way you're gonna be happy.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, luckily everyone was supportive, and it was great, man. I think, and a lot of East Texas was super supportive too. We had a bunch of people from around where we grew up that were young, went to school with, or went to school around the same time. And we had this song that we wrote when we were 15, called Every Single Kiss, that wound up being our very first single. And that's kind of when it came out. Like the hype started building, because all the people that kind of knew us or were kind of friends with us were like, listen to this, like they're from right down the road, and they just put this out. And that was
Right.
kind of like the organic, thing that started it, which was super cool.
And were you ready for how quickly it took off?
Oh, absolutely, man. I don't want to do anything but be a star, man. That's why I want to make this as big as it can be, and I want to, feel like I was, made for it. So I was ready for it as soon as it could happen. I'm ready for it always, man.
That's awesome. And you talked about starting your family early, having your first daughter at the age of 18 and getting married at 19. Now, obviously, it's got to be difficult as you get busier and leaving on the road and leaving them behind. But at the same time, could you see yourself doing this without them?
No, yeah, that's the thing, man. Like we've gotten to where we've kind of have found a balance between road life and home life, and it's over the past 6 months or so. So it's gotten easier. But yeah, before then, man, other than the COVID year where we really didn't play much, I was gone. I mean, so much, and it was, I'd be gone for 2 months. And I'd get back, and after those 2 months, she'd be like a different kid. And
Right.
that stuff,
Yeah.
that stuff sucked, man. But yeah, I wouldn't trade it for the world, man. It's like I said, we've gotten to where we kind of have the balance to where it's we're on the road with how much we want to be, and we're as home as as much as we can be. So it's nice, man.
And you have created a strong community around you of other Texas artists. You have younger guys like Chris Colston, who has been with you, I think, since the beginning, almost since the beginning. And then you
Yeah.
have like Sam Riggs and Grant Gilbert and Corey Kent, Cole Wetzel, of course, Drew Parker. You have all these guys coming out of the Texas music scene right now. How important is that support and that community?
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. I think the thing about the scene is it's a, rising tide lifts all ships, so it's as big as one person can get, it's good for everybody, man. And it's like it's a fairly tight knit scene, man. Everyone I've met's been super great and extremely nice, and just, it's been great. It's definitely better to have it like that than to have everyone hate each other.
Yeah, exactly. And Parker McCollum and Cole are obviously leading the charge in the more broad exposure outside of Texas, which is something that, as I talk to more Texas artists, it's not necessarily the easiest thing to break out of that scene and gain the more national exposure, and not necessarily something that everyone wants. A lot of people are just happy playing within the red dirt scene. But for you, as you look at those bigger artists coming out of Texas, is that the similar path that you're chasing?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think, like I was saying, I want to make what this as big as it can be. I want to, I want to play for just as many people in New York as we do here, and just as many people in Montana as we do here, and just as many people in LA and Oregon and Colorado, whatever, everywhere, man. I think it's an overall. I mean, I feel like most people feel that way coming from the scene now. But yeah, no, it's cool to watch those dudes do it. And I mean, Kojo, Parker, and Co. absolutely, go everywhere and slay. And Whiskey Myers too. There's so many dudes that are absolutely just, just paving the way to, to make the scene as big as it can be, which is great for everyone.
Yeah. And as you travel broader and you make it to like California and you make it around the country, what is it like to have that support and hear people singing your words back to you no matter where you go around this country?
Yeah, no, it's insane, man. The thought of traveling, like, you know, we went and played a show in three shows in California about it was probably a year and 3 months or so after our official start. Or no, it was probably 9 months after our official start date.
Okay.
And so I think I was about to turn 20 or about to turn 19 or something, and we drove our little white shuttle bus we used to have out to California and went and played some shows, and there were a couple hundred people there singing every word in California, or like 150 people there. And we'd been playing for 9 months. So it was insane to see how fast, how fast things can happen.
And is there a show, like more locally or wherever it is, a show that the light bulb went off, that people started singing it back to you and you were like, whoa, this is crazy? Or has it just sort of been a progression?
Man, really the very first show that we played that I would call, like when I say our official start date, it was July 20th of 2018. We'd had music out for like I want to say like 9 months at that point, 8 months, and I'd officially stopped going to college. Decided that I was going to pursue music full time. So that summer I was getting everything ready, as ready as it could be. And yeah, July 20th, we played the show at Moore's store in Ben Wheeler, Texas, which is, I mean, I live in Tyler now, and it's, I mean, probably 30 minutes down the road.
Oh, okay.
But it was our very first official show, and I think when we got there, JT went there and asked how many tickets we had sold. We had sold like I think like 178 tickets so far, and we were like, "What? Are you kidding me? There's already almost 200 tickets sold." And I think the venue was like 225 caps. So I mean, we were like, I think we ended up selling like 200 tickets. We were like 25 tickets away from selling out our first show. It was cool, man. Like that was that was the first night we played, and we had, they were singing a few songs, and it was like, whoa, this is crazy, man. Like this is, oh, it was a drug for sure. It's wild.
And now you talk about the few months leading up to that show. Just talk about that process and sort of the process you took in becoming an artist, because I think these days maybe a lot of artists are just sort of jumping in and, social media, I need to gain attention on social media and go viral so I can have a career. And maybe people don't understand sort of the back end and what needs to happen to make this successful. And so what steps were you taking before that first show to ensure that building this career was going to be successful?
Yeah, so we had found a manager at that point that reached out and wanted to work with us, and he had set up he was the one that was booking our shows at the time. And he was the one that was kind of setting everything up, and we had to find a drummer and a guitar player and a bass player, and we had to find what we were going to travel in. So we were traveling in pickup trucks, just our pickups, for the first probably 8 or 9 months. And it was the whole process of that, and also just getting in somewhere to practice, because the last thing we wanted to go do was go out there and sound like
Right. Yeah.
so we probably had 3 or 4 full 10, 11, 12-hour day practices before our very first show that were like, I mean, mentally and physically, and just the most exhausting days of my life almost, looking back on it. But I mean, also it made us, we weren't bad when we started. There have definitely been a lot worse bands start or sound worse than we did when we started. So it was, the work definitely pays off, I guess, is one thing to say. Definitely go practice before you play shows.
Right. Yeah. And since that time, even, how much have you found you've progressed as an artist and especially a live performer?
Yeah, man. It's the more comfortable you get and the more you allow yourself to get comfortable and to understand that you should always be working to get better and always be working to sound better, to feel the band should be working to feel tighter and all that stuff, man. It's been a I guess since I've been playing since I was, 19, and now I'm 23, and we're playing with a band full time since then. And it's taken all, 4 or 5 years to really get to the point where we are. But we all work really hard, man. And it's I feel like over the past year and a half, 2 years, I've gotten, I mean, I would say as a musician and as a singer, 1,000 times better than I was before. And it's just also has to do, with me. I've gotten a little bit older and continued to grow up and to grow into this person and understand what I want to do and who I want to be. And I don't want to be a guy that sucks. So practice. That's what we do.
Absolutely. And within your live shows, your daughter, who I believe she's 4 now, you've had the opportunity to start bringing her up on stage. And I think it was Billy Bob's. You had her singing into the mic. And so what are those experiences like as she gets older and becomes aware of what you do?
Yeah, man, it's it's an absolutely surreal experience every time. I mean, getting to have I've always said that, like, as a kid, I genuinely had 2 dreams. I always wanted to be a dad and have a family, and I always wanted to be a musician. So whenever they get to both the dreams that I get to live get to combine in a way, it's absolute magic, man. It's insane to get to hear a little girl that me and my wife created come up here and sing a song that I wrote to these people who are singing it back with her. It's an absolutely unbelievable experience, and to have it on video is something that I'm extremely grateful for and something we'll never forget.
And is she a pretty musical kid?
She, I mean, absolutely loves to sing. I mean, she sings all the time. She talks, she writes her own songs and just sings random songs that she writes, I guess. She's a very creative kid for sure.
That's awesome. And now the production of your music, I wanted to talk about that because Philip Mosley, I believe you've worked with him ever since your very first single. And so talk about that relationship and how it formed and how important it's been throughout this process to have someone there for you and not sort of be jumping around from producer to producer on each project.
Yeah, man. No, we found him, like you said, for our very first project. So we found him. He's a guy from Palestine, which was 20 minutes down the road from where
Right.
where I was from. So it was cool to get to to get to work with him. And once we got in there and started working with him, we are like, oh, this guy just, he does great work. And he really helped us find our sound early on. And I think we both continued to grow as musicians and as people and understand kind of who we are and what we want to do. And it's been awesome to get to see that relationship continue to get better. And I think the music continued to get better with how we have continued to work better together. So it's been awesome, man. It's been cool to have that guy there, in the corner the whole time.
And what's your experience been like in the studio as you move along? Are you diving more into the production process yourself and sort of being a part of it?
Man, I mean, I'm in there with him, and if I hear something that I don't like, I definitely go, "Hey, man, can we try something else?" And if I hear something I like, I'm like, "Dude, that's dope. Let's do that again." Whatever. Just keep a guy. I just try to help the vibe, but I definitely speak up if there's something that I don't like, and I give any input that I feel like I want to give if there's something that I feel like is missing. But it's rare that I ever have to speak up, which is good.
And with today's musical landscape and artists maybe focusing more on singles, are you more focused on ensuring that when you do put out music, you do have a full project ready to go?
Man, not necessarily. I mean, I feel like we kind of go through cycles. Like we, in at least for my career so far, we released our very first EP, and which was called Volume 1, and then we released our very first full length album, which was Good Ones Never Last, and it was like that whole project was like it was kind of about losing my dad and going through that whole thing, and that was kind of it. Like that was like a whole story for me. And then Volume 2 was another EP of just songs that we loved. And then this, once again, here we are, Boyfriend Anderson County to the Moon. It's an album that's about where I am, and it's about my wife and about my girls and about the things I've learned as a person and the person that I am, and about just a bunch of stuff like that, man. So I think that it just depends on what we're doing. Like when we're in album mode and I'm trying to make something that it like feels like it tells a story or something, I'm a little more worried about it. But sometimes I'm just trying to, every once in a while just put out a badass song.
Yeah, exactly. And now in 2018, It Ain't Me debuted at number 3 on the charts. And I believe it was William Clark Green and Cody Jinks that were in front of you at 1 and 2. And then behind you was Shotgun Rider, Turnpike Troubadours, and Parker McCollum. Now, when you looked at that and you see yourself on the chart with these, bookend by these amazing artists, what was that like for you?
It's definitely, I mean, another experience that was just kind of like, man, is this even real? Like, some people that we grew up listening to are right there by us. It was a crazy experience, man. And it's still crazy when this stuff happens.
And another crazy experience is going to be September 10th when you make your Opry debut. Now, what does that experience mean? Like, can you even put it into words yet before the performance happens?
Yeah, I mean, I think like right now it's just it's really hard to wrap my mind around. I mean, to be able to just do to be able to play a place that, I mean, so many people dream of playing at 23 is, I didn't, if you would ask me whenever my mom told me then that I could just try music for this year, if I was going to play the Opry when I was 23, I would have been like, probably not. But here we are.
And so this journey, like you say, only 3 or 4 years after sitting down with your mom and saying, I'm going to give this a try, and now to where you've gotten today, are you able to internalize it, or is it just gone so quickly that it's difficult to really take it in while it's happening?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think about it too often because I just try to live in the moment and
Right.
and really just be present everywhere that I am as much as I can, at least. So it's something. Yeah, I don't think about it too often because we're just at the start. We're still at the start line. We got a long way to get to where we want to be.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's a good way to look at it, because as a fan, when I look at you and the success that you've had, I'd say that you're definitely past the starting line. But I mean, like you say, you're only 23, so there is a lot of time ahead of you and a lot of time to do some amazing things. So, so talk about Midnight Tonight. Like I say, this will air in about a week, so the album will be officially released. But right now, you still have a few hours to wait. So, how excited are you?
Man, I'm beyond excited. I really can't believe that it's finally here. It's crazy how fast it's gotten here. You know, it's hard to even put into words how excited I am for this, debut major label full length record. It's once again, it's something that I didn't think I would say. So it's just unreal to be here, man. And 11 p.m. Central Standard Time at tonight. This project that we've worked on for 2 years now is finally coming out. I'm just can't wait to see how people react to it.
And as an artist, how do you gauge how people are reacting? Because I mean, you could sit there and stare at the numbers, or you can go on social media and look at the comments. But for you personally, as an artist, how are you going to gauge the reaction for this album?
Man, I'm a big numbers guy. I'd love to see what songs are they listen to the most, which ones are they not listening to, which ones are they tweet. I look at everything. I look at everything. Which ones are they tweeting about? Everything that I can, at least. What are they DMing me wanting to hear these songs live or whatever? Just I look at everything, man. But for sure, the numbers for sure.
And so going into new music, obviously you want to create music that you love, but are you also looking back on, say, this project and saying what types of songs did well and maybe focusing more on that type of sound? Or how do you go about that process?
Man, really, it's just I'm not really looking back on things we've done, because I feel like if we make a song that sounds similar to a song made in great, but if that's definitely never the goal. I want to try and make something new every time,
Right. Yeah.
and I want to try and incorporate new sounds. Obviously it's still me, so it's going to sound like me, but it's going to sound like me regardless, because I don't ever, I guess, go in trying to chase anything. We always go in and try to make what feels natural and what it's supposed to be, what it feels like it's supposed to be.
Thank you once again so much for listening, and thank you to Kolby for stopping by and sharing his story. Be sure to check out his newest album, Boy from Anderson County to the Moon. Please also be sure to check out us on social media. Just head over to any platform, search Country Music Made Me, and give us a follow. You can also visit countrymusicmademe.com to sign up for our newsletter to receive exclusive content. And if you enjoyed today's episode, leave a rating, leave a review. Anything helps. We really appreciate it. Thank you once again so much for listening, and we'll see you next time on Country Music Made Me.